Hello, everybody, and welcome to Indie Strong. I'm your host, Jennifer McMurrian. As always, I'm giving it a few seconds here to link up with the Facebook so I can see what's going on. There I am. Looky there. That happened fast today. I was a little worried because when I started the live session on Be Live, it was kind of like, it didn't want to really open for me. So hopefully everything will go as planned. Technology is great until it's not. But my husband is a tech guy, which means basically when tech breaks, he fixes it with job security. So I guess I can look at it like that. I guess. I mean, I don't know. Just trying to think on the bright side here. Anyway, hello everyone and welcome to Indie Strong, Becoming Stronger Authors Together. I am your host, Jennifer McMurrian, and I do appreciate you guys being here. If you please hit that like, laugh, love button on Facebook or that thumbs up on YouTube, I would greatly appreciate it. And as always, sharing is caring. So please hit those share buttons. We're going to jump right in with the two topics that really kind of seem to plague writers, the old showing versus telling and voice. And one of the reasons that these two topics really plague writers is because they don't actually know what it means when somebody tells them that. When somebody says, oh, you're doing too much telling and not enough showing. Okay, well, what does that mean? Or your voice isn't strong. Okay, so what does that mean? Okay, so we're going to talk about those two things today. Those two topics are the things that will catapult you from telling a story to being a storyteller. They are the items that will make your story come alive on the page, and they are absolutely needed in order to immerse your reader into your world. So that is what we're going to talk about. Let's start with showing versus telling. Now, if you struggle with this concept, no, you're not alone. This is really hard, but then once you get the hang of it, it'll be second nature to you. It's just, like I said, sometimes it's just somebody explaining it to you in a little bit more detail. And you're like, oh, really? That's it? You're like, yeah, that's totally it. So telling is simply the definition of the word. You are telling the reader what the character did. For example, Debbie finished milking the cow. She picked up a pitchfork to feed the cow. She found a doll. It reminded her of her daughter. She put the doll down to finish her work. She couldn't forget the doll, so she picked it up again. Her daughter always hid things. Dovey felt a pain in her heart and cried. So that paragraph right there, that is telling. Every single sentence there is just telling you something. Showing is painting a picture for the reader. It's using strong descriptive verbs and your senses: sight, smell, taste, hearing, and touch. Okay? So here is that same paragraph, but written in a more showing frame of mind. Finishing her milking, Dovey pulled a couple of hay bales down off the stack to feed Poppy, the milk cow. A flash of red caught her eye. Bending to retrieve the mysterious item, Dovey choked back a cry. Hidden beneath the stack of hay, she uncovered a dingy, black-haired doll wearing a red polka dot dress. Helen's doll. How long had it been there? She thought. Why haven't I noticed it before? Dovey threw the doll to the side. There was far too much work to do to dwell on the past. She continued to fork hay to Poppy, trying hard to ignore the doll's beady eyes staring into her back. It was no use. Setting the pitchfork in the corner, she once again bent to retrieve the forgotten toy. Even though Helen didn't have any siblings, she was notorious for hiding her most prized possessions in the barn, certain no bandits would be able to find her treasures. A sharp sting in her heart sent Dovey sinking to the ground. She held the doll tight to her chest and wept. Okay, so you can easily see why one is more compelling than the other. It paints a more vivid picture of the scene and hopefully helps you to feel Dovey's emotions stronger. Now, this was my first book. This is from Quail Crossings. This is my first book. And there were some things that I could have done differently now that I'm reading it again. I could have added what the barn smelled like. Barns definitely have a smell. I could have added the taste of the dust on her tongue because it was the Great Depression. They were in the middle of a drought, so dust just kind of hung in the air all the time. Adding both of those would have really added to the picture of the overall scene of the overall book. Really would have helped to paint that picture. So take a look at your pivotal scenes and ask yourself if you can add more of the 5 senses. Again, sight, smell, taste, hearing, touch. Make yourself a checklist on how often you use those senses that aren't just sight. When I wrote Quell Crossings, I did a solid round of edits on the senses only. Somebody was like, you know what? There's just a lot of telling here and not enough showing. And they kind of told me the same thing that I'm telling you now. And so through the whole book, all I did was think about how much have I shown, how much have I told, and I kind of made a tally mark on that. Yes, it was a lot of work. Now, don't think that you have to do that for every book that you edit. Sometime, I mean, once you get the case, rewind, once you get a few books under your belt, then this will be second nature to you. You won't have to do this. But if you're really struggling, with it, then you want to just sit down with it and concentrate on the senses only. Now, it's really easy to think of your senses. We learned those in kindergarten. But what about those strong descriptive verbs? Those tricky little boogers don't always come when you need them to. Now, you can look up synonyms online. For example, walk. You'll get a slew. I looked up walk, and here's a few that I found. Stroll, saunter, amble, steer, shepherd, lead. Those are all examples. Just pick a verb that fits the story. Don't just add the most pretentious word listed as a way of showing that you're smart. It has to fit the voice, which is what we're going to talk about here in a second. So I have two tools that I absolutely love that help me show, not tell. The first one here is the Emotion Thesaurus by Angela Ackerman and Becca Polglish. I probably did not say that correctly. I apologize, Angela. This is one of my favorite tools ever. This has a list of descriptions and their physical signals plus the internal sensations, mental responses, cues of acute or long-term use of the word or emotion, I guess I should say, or cues for suppressing the emotion. So you have a whole long list of ways that you could say or show that specific emotion. So this one is disgust, the one that I looked up here. So for example, I can have a character that is disgusted, but instead of just saying he was disgusted, I could say he curled his bottom lip. See how much more visual that is? The other tool that I use a ton is the Flip Dictionary. Now this thing is huge, but I take it with me when I go places and I know that I'm going to write because I use it so often. I'm surprised it's not like totally frayed as much as I use it. So this again is just a more detailed thesaurus. I found the same words in here that I found on the internet for say walk, but it has a section in here called related terms. Let me just turn to that real fast. So here, up here, is like the related terms for walk. So I might want to say walk, but what if I want to say like he was just walking about? He could be traipsing or tramp or tramp. Traipse or tramp are another words for just kind of walking about. What if I just need the word for he was able to walk? So that's ambulant or ambulatory. I said both of those words in practice just fine. And now I'm all like, blah, blah, blah. So that's what live TV is for you people. So anyway, sometimes when I'm just looking away, like walk slowly, moseyed, stuff like that. There's judgment, showing good judgment. And then there's all sorts of words here for that specific thing. So it's not just walk. I mean, it's actual actions and the words, like the one word that could be used for that action. Gosh, I hope that made sense. But again, the Flip Dictionary by Barbara Ann Kepfer, PhD, one of my favorite tools ever. So highly recommend those two books for adding more show to your storytelling. Again, showing is about painting that picture. The more vivid the word, the less work you have to do in the long run. But don't feel that you have to show everything. Mundane things happen in stories just like they happen in everyday life. Y'all, sometimes somebody just picks up a fork. It doesn't have to be a thing. It doesn't have to be a scene. Sometimes they just pick up a pencil. As with anything, there's balance. There's balance. And adding too much showing can really slow the pace of the story. So feel free to tell the mundane in order to show the action. That is completely fine. Find that balance. You know, like I said, every scene where he picks up a fork or a pencil, this is a pencil. Every scene where he picks up a pencil doesn't have to be, you know, this grand showcase of showing. He can just pick up the pencil. All right, now on to voice. I'm going a little faster than I thought I would, but maybe it's because I haven't had any rabbit trails yet. To come, I'm sure. So let's talk about voice, because a lot of people get this critique. And again, it's one of those things that they're all like, what does that even mean? And so hopefully I can explain it to you today in a way that makes sense to you. Feel free to ask questions. Let me look over here to make sure there's no questions on okay, I don't know what Romina is talking about. So, I'm not even sure that was for me, but anyway, that's what you get when you do live. Oh, I'm sorry, Mary, that you missed the first part. Hey, it will be on YouTube. You can always rewind. That will be fine. Okay, so I don't see any questions on showing, not telling. I hope that that helps you to show and not tell. Just remember, 5 senses. Not only what are they seeing, but what are they smelling? What are they tasting, especially if it's food? I don't know how many times my friend Marilyn has made me hungry when she talks about food in her books when I'm critiquing them. What are they hearing? Like, what is there a cricket in the background? What's happening there? And what are they feeling? What are those textiles? You know, is it soft? Is it hard? You know, is that hay scratchy? That was another thing that I could have used. Sorry, got a little gunk in my throat here. Again, pollen. That is definitely my antagonist. All right, so let's move on to voice. The website Writers Write said it best, and I quote, "Your writing voice is your writing personality. It is a unique, authentic, and consistent writing style that belongs to you," unquote. Voice includes your syntax, semantics, diction, dialogue, character development, tone, pacing, and even your punctuation. It is how you use all of those things together to create your style. Because voice is so unique to each individual writer, it is really hard for me to tell you how to achieve it. But basically, as with all things, practice makes perfect. Here's the biggest secret. Your voice, it's already there. It's inside your head, and you just have to be comfortable with it. Most of us have a narrator in our heads that are telling us the story, and then we write it down. Now, some of our narrators are bold and clear, and some are a little timid. Practicing writing is the only way to get your voice to be bold and clear. It's your style of writing, your cadence, your word use, your quirks. It's basically your own version of Morgan Freeman in your head. No matter what movie we watch with Morgan Freeman, if he's in it, it's in his voice. It's in his style. And he's really good at putting his voice in things. He's so good at it that even if we see a meme with Morgan Freeman and he's got a quote underneath it, most of us will read it in Morgan Freeman's voice. That is because he's established his creative voice. Now, you might be saying, of course, Jennifer, his voice is literal. Yes, but you have that same voice in your head. Maybe not literally Morgan Freeman's, but maybe you do. I don't judge. I don't judge. But you just have to be comfortable with letting that style shine, letting your voice be heard. The best way to do this is to find writing prompts. And I was lucky enough that my sister and my brother-in-law sent me this book just recently. It's called A Picture is Worth 1,000 Words. And then it just has pictures in it, and you can use the picture as a prompt. It also has a little bit of stuff over here, but I was just looking at the pictures thinking, yeah, those would be really great exercises to do for writing, because honestly, the only way that you find the style that works for you is to write. So get yourself a book, something like this. My daughter and I, we have used Story Dice, which are a lot of fun. Let me grab those real fast. I didn't get those out because I didn't think of them before. But thankfully, they were where I wanted them to be. And so these just have pictures on them, different pictures. And you roll a series of these, and then you kind of tell a story based on your writing dice. And we have 3. sets. We have scary tales, fairy tales, and story time. And we found all of these on the internet, and I basically bought them for my daughter to help create, spur her creativity. And I use them more often than I like to admit when I'm doing writer exercises just as prompts. This stuff is fun. This stuff should be fun. Don't make these writing exercises a chore. It should be something delightful. It's not something that's going to be judged. It should just create joy. So find your writing prompt. Write short stories or flash fictions on these prompts. They don't have to be novels. If it flows into a novel, that's great, but it doesn't have to be long. There's, like I said, there's nobody grading it. I think sometimes we get so wrapped up in the need to have other people's approval that we just don't write for the fun of it. And I'm definitely guilty of this. And so when I get something like these story dice out, and like this one is cute. It's got a prince turning into a frog. Anyway, when I get these out and I roll them and I know I'm just doing it for giggles, I find that I'm actually more creative. So I let go of all the tether of the world and just write for the fun of it. And that's how you find your voice. Find the style that flows easiest for you. Voice develops over time and again will become second nature the more that you do it. And here is the most important thing that I can say about voice. You have to believe in it. You have to believe in your voice. When my narrator talks in my head, I write down what she says verbatim. And sometimes it's a dude. I don't know what's going on up there, but sometimes it's a dude. But I write down whatever they say verbatim because I trust my voice. I trust my style. I trust it so much that when I hire my copy editors, I need them to trust it as well. If they don't trust my voice, if they don't understand my style, then I don't hire them. When choosing a copy editor, make sure that they understand voice, because not all of them do. Some follow grammar rules to the T, and sometimes that can really hurt the voice of the story. Always, always, always get a sample copy from the copy editor that you're looking to hire on your work. Give them 2-3 pages of your work or whatever they suggest. It varies per copy editor, but have them do a sample of their copy editing on your work. Because if it gets back and you can tell that they don't understand your style, your voice, then you have to have the courage to say, I'm sorry, this isn't going to work. You have to have the courage to find somebody else. You have to believe in your voice and not just take what they say because they're the copy editing professional as the gold standard. I made the mistake of hiring somebody without a sample on a novella a few years ago. And her copy edits were almost useless, honestly, because she spent the whole time changing the voice of the story. She changed it to fit her voice, which was just unprofessional because I hired her copy editing, not critiquing. And B, she took grammar rules over voice and it hurt the flow of the story. I was really frustrated with that. But it was a big waste of money, yes, but it was also a lesson learned that you got to get those sample pages. And I could have saved us both a lot of time and frustration had I done that. So always get those sample pages because there is a balance between great grammar and great voice, and they should work together seamlessly to tell a story. They should not bump heads. And unfortunately, when she copy edited the novella, she didn't understand my style. She kept trying to change it where it fit grammatically and where it fit her style, and it just didn't work. So I am a storyteller. She was very much a person who wrote literature. And there's nothing wrong with writing literature, but that's not my voice. So you can't flip my storytelling into literature because it just doesn't fit. It just doesn't fit. That's not how I write. That's not my style. That's not my voice. So, but I had to trust my voice enough to say, no, what she has done here does not work for me. And then I had to go hire somebody else. So, and I hired somebody I'd used before who understands voice. I have found that avid fiction readers that are also copy editors, they are the best to work with when copy editing. Right? Let me try this again. They are the best to work with when you are looking for a copy editor for fiction writing. I don't know why that was so hard to say, but it was. A Porky Pig that one, didn't I? they understand, those avid readers understand that telling the story is just as important as the grammar. So I highly suggest that you find a copy editor that is an avid reader in fiction if they are going to copy edit fiction. If, the editor that I hired, had it been more of a literature piece, I think she would have been fabulous. But she just didn't work for me. And that was my fault because I did not get those sample pages. And I did not make it clear that I was looking for copy edits only, apparently, because, like I said, she changed a lot of it. So, and it was a prequel to books that were already out, and she was changing story stuff. And I was just like, you can't do that. Anyway, I'm not going to go on a rant about that because that happened a long time ago, and now I know better. Now I know better. Okay, so write. Let your story flow. Believe in your style, your voice, and don't for 1 second waste any time thinking that it's not unique. Because voice is your unique style. Again, it's the cadence, it's the diction, it's the syntax, it's the quote, the dialogue, it's like I said, it's even the punctuation. It's all those things that you use together that make you unique. And you're going to think to yourself, well, I'm writing this, but that's not unique. It is. You don't think it's unique because it's in your head all the time. Okay. So believe in yourself. You are unique, I promise. Stay true to your style and be confident in it. The question here is explain a flash, please. So flash fiction is just really short fiction. Most of the time it is under 500 words. And so, it is really getting to the point. It's just kind of a really little, one of the most well-known flash fiction pieces is one sentence, and it is heartbreaking. I believe it is, if I do this right, it says, for sale, baby shoes, never worn. And so I get goosebumps. Because to me, that paints a picture of a very sad story. It tells the whole story in that one sentence that that they had lost a baby. And I don't know why my brain goes there, because it could just be like they bought the shoes. Like I got shoes for Baby Bear, and they were for itty bitty feet, and we never put shoes on him when he had itty bitty feet. And so I gave those away. But I don't know why I took it so sad, but I did. And every time I get goosebumps because it just kind of a sad sentence to me. But it's a really short piece of fiction, 500 words or less. And it has all the same structure. There's a protagonist, there's a problem, the problem has to be solved. Sometimes there's an antagonist, sometimes the antagonist is himself, and problem has to be solved. A lot of times they end in a bit of a twist. So Flash is really, really known for its twists. All right. Okay, I see there's a really good conversation going on about dialogue and grammar. Yes, very seldom do we talk in perfect grammatical sentences. In fact, that sentence was probably grammatically wrong. So yeah, don't get too caught up in that. Make sure that you're not working with somebody who's going to get caught up in that. Sue says, not holding on to that or anything. Hey, no, I'm not bitter. I'm not bitter about spending that money on that novella copy editor. Not at all. I will let it go. I would never release her name. And if somebody had a piece of literature and they were like, hey, do you know a copy editor? I would probably recommend her for that. I think she would be really good at that. She just really wasn't good for me. So anyway, okay. I love the conversation about dialogue. Not bitter, better. That is correct, Sue. That is correct. All right. Okay. Oh, look at us. 24 minutes in. I'm doing actually pretty good. Again, not many rabbit trails today. There's not many rabbit trails to go on. We've been super boring this week. We really have. We've just been super boring. So here's our moment of Jen. I am so glad that you guys are here for our official start to summer. As I said last week, I'll be a little bit more sporadic during the summer. I will always post on Facebook before I go live. I'll give you guys a couple of days notice at least. I just don't want to be glued to the computer, and I think you guys all understand that. I want to spend time with my family. I hope that you guys have some safe summer plans ahead of you. Now more than ever, I think it's important to have something to look forward to. Now, I'm not saying run off to Disney World or the beach just yet. That seems a little bit soon for that. But maybe reconnect with the great outdoors. They keep talking about vitamin D and how it might help with the coronavirus. And I'm just thinking, you know what? Vitamin D might help with a lot of things. I mean, we spend so much time indoors and we have to look at our computers. And I've tried to take my computer outside and write. And let me tell you something. Um, I can't see my screen very well. And B, I am distracted by all things. When they say squirrel, I mean, I'm literally like, what squirrel? Let me look at that squirrel. I mean, literally, there's a squirrel. I'm going to look at it. Plus the birds and the leaves and the bugs and whatever my kids are doing. And so I can't ride outside. I get super distracted. But I think we do need to get outside. I think we need to take a break from our internal lives. In fact, I was watching the news day before yesterday, I think it was, and there was a guy, he had gone to the beach. I think it was in New Jersey. The beach was finally open and he went to the beach and he was like, it's just great to be outside. And I just thought to myself, did you not go outside during all the quarantine? Gosh, that would be so sad. Like, I'm so glad that we've gotten out a little bit. Can't say that we've been walking as much as some people I see. I have this front window, so I see all the people walking by in the neighborhood, and some people walk by 2-3 times a day, and I'm just like, you go. I have not, but you go. I should. I need to, and maybe I'll change that during the summer when I'm a little less crazy. So, and I'm still working on our hubby to get us that RV because I really just think we need to connect more with outside. And I just love camping. And I know Baby Bear is still a little bit young to really, just go nuts on a camping trip. But gosh, I feel like now's the time. I just really feel that strongly. And he's probably really tired of hearing how strongly I feel that right now. Plus, having a traveling bathroom does have its perks. So anyway, we've been talking about an RV for a couple of years, and I don't know, my gut is just saying now's the time. So again, I'll be sporadic over the summer, spending time with family. Truth be told, I'm also going to work on getting my riding routine down. I feel like I've been very much feast or famine since this pandemic broke out. And I think a lot of it has to do with the fact that every day we just have an onslaught of pandemic news, and it's just sad. And sometimes that weighs heavily on the heart and the creative spirit. And we've been dealing with this social distancing quarantine thing for roughly 70 days now. 70 days. That is a long time. And I think that it's not uncommon for creativity to just kind of be battered down because we're not out living those lives that we usually live. So I encourage you to find that creative spirit again and take those baby steps this summer to help feed your muse. Go for a walk. I'm talking to myself too, guys. Go for a walk. Take a day trip someplace new as long as you feel safe doing so. I want you to feel safe. I want you to do the things that make you feel safe. If you're feeling anxious and nervous and just scared about it, don't put yourself through that. That's not the kind of creative spark that I am trying to ignite here. So start small by writing those fun stories about flowers or silly kids or about this guy is tied to a chair. It almost looked like a bathroom there for a minute. Maybe he's out of toilet paper. That is drastic. But find those fun stories to write. Just ignite that creative spirit, keep adding the kindling, and it will return. And maybe even with all the experiences that we've had over the last 70 odd days, it might even shine a little bit brighter than ever before. Okay, so next week, weather permitting, I will be back on, but I'll be on location. Doesn't that sound fancy? Yes, I am lucky enough that I have the opportunity for a safe writer's retreat. It is a place that I can drive to without stopping. They've been quarantined. They just now really opened everything back up. And so the tourists haven't come in yet. So I feel like I'm jumping in ahead of the game. So I feel like I can do this safe. And I want to share a bit of that with you guys while I'm there. I want to talk a little bit about writing retreats. It won't be 30 minutes. It'll probably be like 15. But I have to do it from across the street because this place is a quiet place. So I was there summer before last, and I was in bed and I was reading a book, And I saw something out of the corner of my eye, something brown, but I thought it was, I looked around and I didn't see anything. So I thought it was just my hair. My hair does that to me often. And so, I go back to reading my book and then suddenly I feel something on my neck. It's a brown recluse, you guys. A brown recluse. I don't like spiders. I will go out and I will wrangle a snake before I deal with spiders. Do not like them. I mean, if they're outside, I just try to leave them alone, but this one was on my neck. So of course, I'm like, ah. But I didn't scream. I didn't scream. If I would have been home, the whole world would have heard me. But I didn't scream because it is a quiet place. And I respected those rules, even when I was fending myself off from the gigantic spider on my neck. So it's so funny because of the lag. I'm just now seeing myself like swatting the spider away in the corner of my eye. I'm so goofy, but you guys love that about me, right? All right. So unless I post otherwise, look for me to be on at 1 p.m. Central on location next Wednesday. It'll be a short one, but hopefully give you some informational insight in regards to writing retreats. So that's it for me. That's it. I'm done. Oh my goodness, almost on time. I hope that you find your writing spot, set some writing time, and write your stories because your stories matter. You matter. Let me make sure there's no questions. So, Mary's all like, tied to a chair? That's weird. Well, yeah, he's being held hostage, Mary. Come on, creative spirit. It's a creative dice. I think this is one of the fairy tale ones too. So, yeah. So I'm only seeing like 4 comments right now. So I will go in and there's 30. So I will go in and make sure that I've answered all your questions in the comments. Yes, Writers Colony, the Writers Colony in Eureka Springs. I think it's the Writers Colony at Dairy Hollow in Eureka Springs. So I am able to go there next week and I will be on location and I will show you guys that then. Okay, guys. All right. I will talk to you later and I will see you next week. Happy summer. Take care and happy writing.